Today from New Jersey, this is SNL Nerds, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm the birthday boy, Darren Patterson.
And I'm not the birthday boy, John Trumbull. Happy birthday, Darren!
Thank you, yay! They say it's your birthday. I'm gonna try not to be like those obnoxious people about their birthday, who get like that about their birthday, have to tell the world, ruin comedy shows, and just be like, look at me, I was born today, look at me, I'm special.
I think it's okay to raise a fuss, like, on the day or whenever you're celebrating. If you're, celebrating a couple days off, like we are, I think it's fine. If you get to the point where you're one of those people who's like, it's my birthday month, it's like, no, screw you.
I was born in this month, so this whole month is mine. It's my month. Me.
Yeah. I mean, I'll even say, like, you can have two small celebrations.
Ooh.
Okay. if it's a scheduling thing or something like that.
Okay. All right. You're tough but fair, John.
I like to think so. But I hope you're having a good birthday celebration, and this is our small part of it.
Oh, it is. Thank you so much, John. That's so sweet. It's so nice.
I got you literally what we do every week.
What's that?
A podcast recording.
Oh, that's right. Hey, how did you know? That's what I asked for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and because it's your birthday, you asked to do another SNL episode that actually aired on your birthday back in 2003. So we're reaching back to season 28, episode 15, with host Salma Hayek and musical guest Christina Aguilera, who we will not really be talking about because her musical segments were not on Peacock.
Yeah, normally we were able to watch these old episodes on like archives, websites, but they seem to have taken them down. So our only source to watch this is Peacock, and Peacock has technically, I guess, all the SNL episodes, but they're all kind of chopped up and all the musical.
Yeah, I would assume it's usually because of musical clearances that they remove a sketch, or certainly they remove some of the musical guest segments. And honestly, that's fine because I've never liked Christina Aguilera's music, so I'm pretty happy I didn't have to watch her stuff.
Coming in hot. Okay.
Well, okay. Here's the thing that I don't. She's one of those singers who is always more interested in showing off her vocal range than singing the freaking song. So she like is singing every note all at once, and I find that so damn annoying.
I see what you mean. Like it's like but she does have a very powerful. I mean, as far as pop singers go, especially around this era, like the Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson era, she was one of the better singers, and I guess you could kind of tell that she knew it, because I do agree with you as someone, like, she's more like it's more of a showy performance.
Yes, and I've never cared for that. It's like it's same with Mariah Carey. Don't sounds like a car alarm to me.
Yeah. God damn. All right. Wow. Coming in hot there, Trouble. But yeah, so there's no Aguilera performances we're gonna speak of on this episode, and there's also one sketch that, for some reason, is not up on Peacock.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that later. But yeah, March 15th, 2023, the year I turned 26. Just a year before I met my now wife. So I'm trying to figure out what I was doing. I can pretty much assure you it involved alcohol and karaoke.
Well, what a great combo!
I can pretty much guarantee that. Like, now where I was doing this karaoke, that I do not.
Were you still living in New York at this point?
I was, still living at my folks' house. So there was one place in Astoria, Queens, me and my friends like to go to, Karaoke Shout. There was a few places in the Village that we went to.
I don't think I realized that you were such a karaoke freak.
The more I think about it, the more it's like, yeah, wow, I was really about that life. Like, there was that. There was a couple of really cool kind of places in Koreatown, like in Manhattan. Like, there was this one spot a buddy of mine found where you kind of take this elevator up. It's like a nondescript place. There was no sign out front, but you take the elevator up. you were able to BYOB and like rent a room for like dirt cheap. Like I'm not sure if it was actually like on the up and up, but it was there.
I mean, it
And
sounds kind
so
of sketchy.
yeah, whatever, man. Hey, you want to have fun or not?
Okay, all right.
So
No, I mean, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. I'm
what are you?
just, I'm,
Yeah, what are you, a cop? What are you, a
I'm
cop?
just saying that that was probably a drug mule operation.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but I got to sing Sweet Caroline, so whatever.
Okay. All right. All right. Was that your go-to?
No, no. I think I said my go tos on this podcast. What was it? The impression that I get.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, George Michael Faith. Glory Days was a big one. Hard to Handle. I used to.
Ooh.
That was a good one. Oh, that
Oh,
was a good one. Uh,
doing the Black Crows there.
yeah, I know. But yeah, like that. Oh, and of course, Rhythm of the Night, of course. But yeah, like it was. I was out here. So yeah, so I definitely was doing. I think I was doing that when I turned 26. Just living a carefree life of drunkenly singing into microphones and just no with no cares at all. It was
Let's see. Yeah.
beautiful.
Now I'm trying to think. What I was doing around about this time. This would have been the tail end of me living in Dover. I was just getting ready to move to
Ooh,
Parsippany, New Jersey, where I'd be for like the next 20 odd years.
okay,
Um, so yeah, I was probably packing up a bunch of stuff around this time.
okay, all right.
So so
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and you might be wondering, where was SNL at this point in time? Well, we'll tell you. As we said, this is season 28, episode 15, so they're just a little over halfway through the season. The repertory players at this point were Rachel Dratch, Jimmy Fallon, Tina Fey, Daryl Hammond, Chris Kattan, Tracy Morgan, Chris Parnell, Amy Poehler, Maya Rudolph, and Horatio Sands. Those were the regulars. Apparently, Will Ferrell and Anna Gasteyer had both just left the show.
Mm,
Farrell at the end of the previous season, and Anna Gasteyer was on maternity leave, and she just decided not to return after that. And the show had also had five featured players, and we had Fred Armisen, Dean Edwards, Will Forte, Seth Meyers, and Jeff Richards. So
wow.
three out of those five folks would have significantly long runs with the show.
Yeah, like I do. Yeah, like I vaguely remember Jeff Richards and Dean Edwards. Like Jeff Richards, I remember he had that one reoccurring character on the Death segment in Weekend Update, like the drunk girl
Oh
thing. He would
yeah.
come
Oh, I
back.
remember that now. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
he also did a Letterman impression. Um,
Oh wow, I don't remember that.
and Dean Edwards, I don't remember too much that he did at this point. I know he did an Obama, and he had another impression that we'll see in this episode. But
Yeah,
yeah, he was one of those people who just didn't last too long in the show for whatever reason.
yeah,
I don't think either one was there for even as long as a year.
yeah. I think it was a pretty short time. I do remember he did have like a Denzel Washington impression that I think he did like once.
Hmm.
And I know we all think of Jay Farrow as the de facto
Yeah.
Denzel impressionist, but yeah, like I vaguely remember him doing it once. So like technically he did it before like Jay Farrow ever made it a big thing.
Hmm. Okay.
But yeah, like two of them, I guess they didn't really. I'm not sure if they were let go or they decided to quit. But yeah, like neither one of them had a long tenure on the show.
I mean, since they left that early, I would assume it was not their choice.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to be positive here.
Yeah. Well.
Uh, but yeah, it's still wild to believe that there was a time where Will Forte and Chris Kattan were on the same cast at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying before we started recording, you don't. Sometimes you don't necessarily associate these pairs of people together, but yeah, like a lot of these tenures did overlap. I mean, this is firmly in the era. Like Lauren's been doing this for a while, where he kind of has a deep bench of people, and
Yeah, yeah,
he just kind of eases people in and out. So.
yeah. And this is the transition era because you see the old guard like Parnell and Kattan
Hmm.
and Hammond and still there.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of those
But
people who came in '95,
yeah, and
they're
then you
still
see like
around 7 years later.
then you see the new your new crop, the new fresh faced kids like Armisen and Seth Meyers
Yeah, it's
coming in.
so weird to think of them as being the new guys.
Yeah, it's wild. It is
Yeah.
wild.
So,
So let's
um,
get into it. Cold open, shall we?
okay, cold open. As we said, uh, Will Ferrell had left the show at this point, so the show was without a George W. Bush. So this was
Mm.
this kind of weird era where they rotated a few different George Bushes, and uh, the person playing George Bush in this cold open, I think he was kind of underrated. Chris Parnell as George W. Bush. I thought he did a good job generally.
Yeah, in general, I think he did all right. I guess it's just so weird because like you see, like when you see Will Ferrell, who did, I guess, for the show, the definitive George W.
Hmm.
Bush impression, like anything else is gonna kind of pale in comparison, or people are just automatically gonna compare
Yeah,
it to that. Like the same way people compare Mikey's Joe Biden to JAJ's Biden. It's like, well, it's all right,
yeah,
but
yeah. Or Sudeikis's Biden. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly, exactly.
But I mean, it can be done. I mean, both Amy Poehler and uh, Kate McKinnon did great Hillary Clintons. Both Phil Hartman and Daryl Hammond did great Bill Clintons.
Yeah,
So I mean, you can have more than one good impression of a prominent politician, but they never really quite found somebody who could match Will Ferrell as George W. Bush because he just nailed that character so much, you know.
yeah, and words like strategery just coming up with thing, and he just
Hmm.
found this sort of endearing, charming, goofy, buffoonish way to portray him that really just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
he
locked.
just
I mean,
kind of nailed the dumb frat boy persona.
yeah, I mean, he had like a Broadway or was it off Broadway show
I think
based
it
on the
was
character.
Broadway. Yeah, where
It was
the
on
"You're
Broad.
Welcome
Yeah,
America." Yeah, when
yeah,
Bush left office, I remember that.
yeah. The Great White Way.
Yeah,
He took that impression too.
yeah. So I mean, this is March of 2003. So we're in the ramp up to uh, the Iraq War. Um, we're getting ready to go to war with the wrong country.
Oh boy.
This really did take me back to 2003. This episode was a real time capsule in certain ways, and Chris Parnell is George W. Bush saying like, well, I got some criticism. My last press conference wasn't hard hitting enough, so now I'm having all these journalists here, and they can ask anything they want, and the joke is it's all journalists from like little rinky dink newspapers. I like the first person was from like a pineapple themed newsletter. I didn't write down the name of it, but
Yeah, that was Maya Rudolph from the Pineapple Growers Trade Association Weekly.
well, there you go.
Yeah, then we have Forte from the online matchmaker dating services.
Right, asking if Saddam Hussein like deserves love.
Can he find love too?
Yeah. We also had Fred Armisen as a priest from the Good Shepherd Church Bulletin. And then I like that we had Rachel Dratch as Helen Thomas,
Yes.
if you're younger, you might not remember Helen Thomas. She was like a mainstay of the White House press room for years and years and years since the Kennedy administration. So it
Mm,
was a kick to see her in there. Uh,
right. We had Amy Poehler as like a teenager or a preteen from Highlights magazine.
yeah, remember when Amy Poehler played a lot of kids?
Yeah,
I was
that was
like,
like her.
she doesn't really do that anymore, but that used to be like one of her specialties. She
Yeah,
kind of like broke her eye teeth on Conan playing Andy Richter's little sister, and
yeah,
she had like some little girl characters on SNL. I remember she played Dakota Fanning back when Dakota Fanning was a child actress.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like Amy playing kids was like a big thing. Like she would always like talk with a lisp
yeah,
and like
yeah,
just wear braces. I get maybe because like Amy Poehler's kind of short,
yeah. And
or
she could just wear the pigtails, and then suddenly she's like a little girl. I was just like, oh wow, this takes me back. I haven't seen Amy Poehler do this sort of thing in forever. Um, we had
oh yeah.
Horatio Sands as Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool News.
How kick is that new Matrix trailer, right?
It's so kick ass. Um, we had Tina Fey popping up in a sketch, and she was from like some family's newsletter, and George W. Gives them condolences for the death of their pet.
Right. And I mean, I did like the running gag where Helen Thomas,
Hmm.
Rachel Dratch's character, was trying to ask real questions about
Yeah,
bombing of innocent Iraqis for oil, and like
right.
she kept on, she got like chloroformed
Yeah, and
by
then she's
one
hit
of
by
the
a blow dart later by one of
yeah,
the Secret Service people. That was a funny visual. I like that.
yeah, and I liked at the very end where it has like what is it, like Tracy Morgan from like Hobo News saying, "My question: Can I have $1?"
Yeah. Follow up question: Can I have another dollar? Oh, and Seth Meyers popping up doing a Tom Cruise impression. He was like from a Tom Cruise fan newsletter or something.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I remember that. I think that was. I think even Seth Meyers said that, like that's one of his kind of go-to impressions, like when he was like trying out for the show.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so this was like not long after Seth Meyers had gotten on the show, and I know he did a Tom Cruise impression. He did a great Hugh Grant impression. Um,
Yes, yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah,
yeah,
it was pretty good.
and he does even more impressions these days because he goes to impression camp and he is always expanding his repertoire. So
Is it? Is
yeah,
he?
I mean that's a thing that he does.
I did not know. What, are you being for real right now, or just?
It's a running gag on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
I see. Okay, I didn't know if this was.
He's always talking about it. He's going to impression camp.
Got it. Okay, I didn't know if there was like a real thing, or this is one of those big, one of those big Trumbull jokes there, the
Well,
Trumbull
it
gag.
was kind of both.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it. All right,
it's kind of
cool.
both. Thanks for going along with it for me.
Yes, and
A pretty decent oh, oh, cold open. I thought.
yeah, not a bad cold open.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
made
They,
the
like,
point
yeah,
about
like,
how the Bush administration was just being treated with kid gloves by the press
right.
in those days, or you
Yeah,
know, how it-
like they found a way to do a political cold open, but still find some humor in it and
Mhm.
have some fun with it, and like
Yeah,
bring up
yeah.
some real life facts about the
I mean,
bombing of.
doesn't the George W. Bush administration feel like almost innocent at this point? And
It really
I
does.
remember like 20 years ago, I was like, I hated them. I was like, oh well, he's obviously the worst president ever, and we'll never have anybody
Mm.
worse than him. And I'm just like,
Oh,
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 oh, John of 2003, you poor sweet summer child.
oh, were we ever so young of the way we were?
So yeah, so that
Can it
was
be?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems weird that I feel like this weird nostalgia for the early 2000s because they weren't all that great of a time, but
yeah. No, I remember like everybody hated Bush, or at least
yeah,
everybody, in our liberal bubble
right,
hated Bush, and
yeah.
like gas was a problem. I think the price of gas was rising. It wasn't great, but yeah. But now we look back on it, and it's. I mean,
Yeah,
it does seem
I guess it's
rose-colored
always like a
glasses.
hindsight is 2020 thing. Always seem simpler in retrospect because you know how things turned out. So
Yeah, exactly. I think we even have kids now who grew up who were born in like the late 2000s
hmm
or like 2010. They're looking back at that time now and be like, wow, it was such a simpler time. Life is so much better then. Like I really there's like early
yeah,
2000s nostalgia. I think if you go online and you find like the Gen Zers and whatnot,
yeah.
and
I mean I think you're always just going to find a nostalgia for like 20 years before.
yeah, I
That
think
seems
so.
to be what the cycle is. 20 sometimes 30 years before, but usually about 20.
Yeah, like I think for a while I thought like the 60s and 70s seemed like a pretty cool time to grow up. I'm sure
Yeah.
if I went back in time and went there, I'd find might have had a few problems back then.
Yeah, I think the 1960s had a few problems. I think I don't think that's that radical of a
Well,
stance anymore.
what? But they had Hendrix, man.
They
That's
had
cool.
Hendrix, but they also had all sorts of race riots
Oh,
and
oh,
Vietnam
that. Oh yeah.
and and
All right,
stuff.
yeah. There was that, yeah. But Hendrix, man, come
But
on.
Hendrix, yeah, true, true.
Lit his guitar on fire. Come on, bro.
That's true. He played it with his teeth.
That's right.
Hopefully
Light
not
my
after he
fire.
set it on fire.
Oh, nice.
But all right, back to the show. We have Salma Hayek doing the monologue. She comes out. She's in, look kind of casual. She's in like just a black top and jeans.
Hmm.
Um, and apparently this was in her run up to her Academy Award nomination for Frida. And I looked it up. That's the 75th Academy Awards, which were on March 23rd, 2003. So just about a week after this show, and she was up for Best Actress for playing Frida Kahlo. Didn't end up winning. Ended up losing to Nicole Kidman for The Hours, who was playing Virginia Woolf.
I haven't seen either one of those films.
I did see The Hours, and she was it was the maestro of its day. She had a big old fake nose, like
I remember that. I remember that being a big deal with people,
yeah,
where the people were like, "Oh, you just ugly yourself up and put a big nose on, you get an Academy Award."
yep, yep. Who knows? Maybe that was the inspiration for Bradley Cooper. Um,
Bradley Cooper saw The Hours and was like,
yeah,
"Yes."
and let's see. It was also Chicago won Best Picture. Adrian Brody won Best Actor for The Pianist. That was the year that he laid the big smooch on Halle Berry, who was
Yes.
presenting the award. Catherine Zeta-Jones won for Chicago as Best Supporting Actress. Those are probably the big winners from
Yeah,
what I'm seeing.
Chicago. I saw. I did like that quite a bit.
Oh, and Michael Moore won for Best Documentary Feature for Bowling for Columbine, and he got booed when he was bashing George W. Bush during his acceptance speech. So,
Wow. Yeah, that was like a time where if you said anything against the president, people were like, "You're not American," like like the Dixie Chicks type of shit. Where
yeah, yeah, which Weekend Update talks about later on in the show.
crazy.
So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
Yeah, and I do remember like this was the award show that I believe Roman Polanski won for director, and I
Yes,
remember
he
'cause
won. He won for The Pianist. Yeah, Roman Polanski, who has been basically exiled himself from the U.S.
yeah, he's just like, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Which is a whole, that's just Google Roman Polanski. I don't think we need to
Oof.
open that whole can of worms.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember watching the award show that night, and like a lot of people in the audience didn't seem too happy about that. I remember,
No, no,
you know,
controversial figure, Mr. Roman Polanski.
yeah, like I think I remember like Nick Nolte in particular was like, no, fuck that dude.
Yeah, yeah, I seem to remember that. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, monologue. Sorry, sorry. Wow.
monologue. Salma Hayek comes out. She's saying like, "Oh, the guys here have been so nice to me this week." So the basic joke is like, "Oh,
Yeah,
she's so hot. Oh my God, look at how hot she is. Oh my God,
they even
she's
had
so
that
hot."
problem. They had that problem back then.
Yep.
Things never change.
It's. I mean, we could have been watching the Sydney Sweeney episode from a few weeks ago.
Hmm. uh, but yeah, it's like it's so basically it's like everybody's all the men are so hot. They keep buying me drinks, giving me
Hmm.
massages, a lot of massages,
Yeah.
which is like wow, these guys here are really handsy. And
And you know what? Going back to the Frida thing, again, this is sort of a hindsight 2020, as we know what. I know that when all the Harvey Weinstein stuff came out a few years back,
oh yeah,
Salma
yeah.
Hayek revealed that she was only able to get the movie Frida made because Harvey Weinstein was a producer on that, or I think it was done through his studio. He said like, "Oh yeah, I'll only let you make this movie if you have like a nude scene or a sex scene in it." And I'm just like, "Oh God, that's so fucked up, man."
Oh Christ.
Because this was like I think a passion project of hers for years, playing this artist, and
Right.
Harvey Weinstein, he was just like, "Well, you can make it if you show your titty." I mean, just
That's how he talks.
probably.
Okay. Yeah. Like oh my god.
I mean, that's his inner monologue at the very least.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, like, God, what a monster.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just
Oh
like, oh, geez, poor Salma Hayek was, having to deal with this stuff and, had to do that just to get her passion project made. It's just, ugh.
yeah, I know. Ugh.
Anyway, so Chris Kattan comes out. He's, got a Don Johnson sort of look, with a
Mm.
colored T-shirt and a white jacket, and he comes out and serenades her the old Pat Benatar song "We Belong."
Of course.
Yeah,
If you're gonna serenade any woman, it's to Pat Benatar we belong.
yeah, a song that was like about 20 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And like we have like tons of other guys coming out and they've got like keytars and things like that. And
Yeah, we have like Tracy Morgan comes out dressed up as like the dude from Cameo, the
mhm,
Word Up guy,
yeah,
and then Jeff Richards comes out with like a flock of seagulls haircut. And he just kind of does a little dance
yep,
on the side.
yep, yep.
He's not even playing anything.
Yeah, and they congratulate her on her Oscar nomination. And we find out there that Chris has this Pat Benatar cover band called Shadows of the Night, named after another Pat Benatar hit.
Another banger.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, thank you, Chris. I'm very flattered, but I'm just not interested. And
Oh,
the band kind of disperses, and there's one guy with like long matted hair and sunglasses, and he's just kind of wandering off, and Selma Hayek stops him, and oh my goodness, it turns out it's Ed Norton in disguise.
that's right, Ed Norton. Because at this time, the two of them were an item. They
Yeah,
were.
I'd honestly forgotten that they'd ever dated. Um,
Yeah, I mean, hey, my man. This
this was
kudos
yeah.
to you, sir.
Ed Norton was, and I don't know what his situation is now. I don't know if he's single or married or in a relationship or what. But yeah, he was like one of those Hollywood bachelors for a little while, where he I know he dated Courtney Love, and I know he dated Salma Hayek, and I feel like there was at least another famous person he dated for a while there.
I'll look it up, but
I
yeah,
meant to look it up and I forgot to.
I'll look it up.
But
But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I remember Edward Norton's dating history being quite.
yeah, in like the late '90s, early 2000s, after he became famous, he was dating around for a while, and yeah, and he's like speaking in a British accent, and he has a little back and forth with Salma Hayek, and he's saying like, yeah, we formed this band, we've been rehearsing for 5 weeks, and she's like, oh, I can't believe it, and he's like, what, that we'd go to these lengths? And she's like, no, that you've been rehearsing for 5 weeks, you're awful. So
Yeah, that was kind of funny. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
you guys suck.
yeah, and then of course everybody comes back on to like quote unquote play the song again, and I like that Norton put his wig back on.
Yes, yeah, that Howard Stern long wig.
Yeah, that was a nice
Uh,
touch. That was a nice
okay,
touch.
so yeah, Edward Norton. He was. All right, so it looks like he is married now to
Okay,
Shauna Robinson. Robertson. Shauna Robertson.
okay,
He
she's
was
a
engaged to
screenwriter, I think, right?
Shauna Robertson, I
The name's
believe so.
familiar. Yeah.
I believe so. But yeah, she was. He was engaged to Courtney Love. Then he was dating Selma Hayek and Brianna Bell and Drew Barrymore.
Oh, Drew Barrymore. Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah,
Okay. So
and then
Salma Hayek was after Courtney Love.
Selma Hayek was after. Yes,
Okay. All right. So now you know where we are in the Ed Norton dating history
yes,
thing.
and he was rumored to have hooked up with Evan Rachel Wood and Cameron Diaz. So
Okay.
there you go,
All right.
hot goss.
Well, there we go. There we go. And I believe I think Salma Hayek's married now too. I think she has a few kids now, if I
Yeah,
remember
she's
correctly.
married to some like billionaire, I want to say, or
Yeah.
some dude with dough.
Anyway, so what'd you think of the monologue?
Uh, it's cute enough, I guess.
Yeah, it was cute enough. It was like, yeah, I don't know if they really knew what to do with her outside of the, oh my gosh, she's so hot.
Yeah, I mean, this really kind of reeks of we don't like she. Of course, she's not just that. Her look,
Yeah.
she's many other things. She's many other facets, but it really feels like they didn't know how to tap in into any of those other things, or maybe even
Tap
want
into.
to.
Yeah, yeah. So is it a failure of imagination? Is it bro culture? Is it a little of both? Uh,
A little bit, yeah, but I
yeah.
mean, also at the same time, it has Pat Benatar, We Belong, so that'll always win me over. I
I
really
mean,
like Pat Benatar, We Belong.
excuse me. I mean, the Saturday Night Live guys are basically the butt of the joke because they're making asses of themselves because she's so attractive. So I mean, I feel like they're aiming the jokes in the right direction, but yeah, at the same
Yeah,
time, you kind of wish they could have come up with something else, but I don't know.
absolutely. And yeah, so just so everybody knows, yeah, Salma Hayek is married to Francois Henri Pinault, who
Hmm.
is the CEO of Kering.
Carrying
I
the coffee company.
uh, CEO Kering, no, French-based multinational corporation specializing in luxury goods. It owns the brands Gucci, Balenciaga, Bottega Veneta, Yves Saint Laurent,
Okay,
Creed.
we're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just
She's married.
yeah, dude's got dough. All right,
Okay,
done.
married a rich guy.
Yeah. Done. All right. So yeah. So the next sketch that comes after this is a sketch that we really can't talk about because it's not on Peacock, but it's the top of the morning sketch, which I vaguely remember these. It's like
Yeah, yeah, they did this a few times, and yeah, because on the Peacock recording, it goes right to TV Funhouse, and it's kind of weird to go to a pre-taped bit right after the monologue. So I was thinking, yeah, this must be the where the missing thing is.
right. So the top of the morning sketches they basically had Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers as two Irish guys doing like I guess like a talk show inside an Irish bar,
Uh huh.
and just getting drunk and doing Irish things and saying everything with an Irish accent.
Right.
So
Because we're
yeah,
right around St. Patrick's Day at this point. So
exactly. So this one, I mean, there's not much I can say about it. Like I just know there's a what is there like a viper on the jukebox, according to the pictures I'm seeing off here, and
okay.
it ends with Selma Hayek getting angry and smashing holes into walls.
Well, okay, that sounds entertaining.
Right. So there you go. So let's go to the TV Funhouse.
TV Funhouse. This was based on a show I had totally forgotten existed. It,
Same.
it was a reality show called Are You Hot? And this
Yeah,
was a real show, right?
it was a real show on ABC.
I don't think it lasted
Only
very long, did it?
lasted one season, got taken off for low ratings, and also from what I remember, because I looked it up on Wiki, but I remember it too. Like Howard Stern sued the show because Howard Stern was kind of doing something like this on his radio show. I think
Right.
like where he was like rating, like people would come in and like him and a panel of other people would like kind of rate these people's looks and
Well,
like
I
point out their
remember
flaws and shit.
sometimes women would come on the Stern show and he would tell them like if he thought they had a shot of being like a Playboy playmate or something like that.
Right, right.
And this reality show had Lorenzo Lamas as a judge, and I think like Lorenzo Lamas in this thing he has a laser pointer, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
didn't Stern do the same thing?
I believe so. Yeah. So, but yeah, but I mean, this show when this show came out, it was just basically on the heels of American Idol
Hmm.
when American Idol became huge and the juggernaut the juggernaut that it became. Like I remember, like a lot of other networks were like, "Oh, we want our own American Idol too." So
Right,
like you see like a lot of other shows coming out around that time trying to be like American Idol, like
right, and they hadn't
even
come up
down
with the voice yet, so
yeah, exactly. But like even down to like the three judges, like there
yeah.
was one judge that was like a Randy Jackson type, one
Hmm.
lady judge like Paul Abdul, and then another judge like Simon Cowell, who would be like the mean cutting, like snarky
Right,
judge.
and I think that's what Lorenzo Lamas was on this show, or just judging from this TV Funhouse thing, and the gag here, because this is an animated thing, he's just doing this to various animated characters.
Yes.
So yeah, he's got Betty Boop, and he's like, well, your head's too big, you don't have a chin. Um, his Popeye comes out, and he's fixating on Popeye's huge forearms. Uh, we see the Disney version of Cinderella, and she's like in a
yeah,
in a bathing suit and instead of an evening gown, and he's like, "Well, hey, you look incredible," and
yeah. Like he said, like, "Oh, my pumpkin isn't. I'm
yeah,
not turning into a pumpkin." He says some really gross
he
shit about.
does, he does, because apparently Lorenzo Lamas was really gross on on this show, and oddly enough, like a little earlier this week, I was watching a thing like A&E had a show called like Secrets of Playboy, and one of the
Oh.
episodes I was watching, like they were talking to one of the playmates who had been married to Lorenzo Lamas. So I'm like, it's weird that I've thought about Lorenzo Lamas twice in 1 week.
Yeah, he's making a comeback, baby.
I don't think he is. I think I just coincidentally happened to come across
Oh,
two old things featuring Lorenzo Lamas, but
in your
he,
mind, he's making a comeback.
it is TV's renegade. So we had olive oil, strawberry shortcake, droopy dog,
Yeah.
Marvin the Martian. I like that he told Marvin the Martian to lay off the tanning.
Like,
Uh,
oh, you've made me angry.
Dagwood from the Blondie comic strip, Optimus Prime,
Nice.
uh, Yosemite Sam, who of course had a lot of back hair and
A
lost
lot of
points
back
because
here.
he's only 3 feet tall,
Uh,
and and lastly Barney Rubble,
right.
who
And yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, yes. And then I think he asked Barney to take off out his outfit, his loincloth, I guess it
Yeah,
is. And yeah, so then we see Barney in tidy whities with the big old bulge.
yeah. Barney Rubble has a big hog apparently. He's
Yes.
like, oh well, hey, now I understand the hot wife. So that was cute. It's sort of what you expect from uh, uh, Smigel and
Yeah.
JJ Saddlemeyer.
Yeah.
The humor for the TV's Funhouse is pretty defined at this point, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. And then the pre-tape ends with Bam Bam throwing around Lorinda Lamas and smashing him to the floor like Hulk did with Loki.
Yes.
Just wham, wham, bam.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
But
yeah, cute idea. Cute idea.
yeah,
Nice. a decent way to call out Lorenzo Lamas for being the scuzzy guy that I'm sure that he was on that show.
yeah. Apparently, yeah. I didn't. I honestly, I mean, I never saw the show, but yeah, like looking back on this, I was like, oh, I guess it wasn't an act. I guess he was really that slimy and like maybe I
Yeah,
don't know because
maybe
like
he's turning it up a little for the show, but
yeah.
yeah.
Because like some actors are have that reputation, like Charlie Sheen and
Hmm.
Seagal, but I'd never heard of anybody saying like Lorenzo Lamas is like slimy like that. So maybe that's why it kind of took me off guard. I was like, oh, I guess he's a bit of a
Well,
dirtbag.
let's face it, he wasn't as famous as those other guys.
Oh,
But it's the point where it's like you got a laser pointer and you're pointing out. It speaks well of us as a nation that this show did not get good ratings. I think.
yeah, I think that's one of the times where I was like, maybe there is some hope for us. Maybe we're
Yeah,
gonna be okay after all.
maybe there is hope for us as a nation.
Yeah, and then of course it turned out I was completely wrong.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
definitely
we all were.
nope. Uh,
Next, we have Versace Oscar fashion preview. This was a recurring sketch of Maya Rudolph's where she played the designer Donatella Versace.
hmm
I always
yeah.
hated this sketch, honestly.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, there's not much to it.
Yeah,
She kind of plays Donatella Versace as just kind of always drunk, always smoking a cigarette,
yeah,
kind of always out of it, but also very loud
yeah, kind of
and
speaking like
opinionated.
Natasha from the old Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons.
Oh, yes, yes, very much so. Moose and squirrel.
Yeah,
Uh,
uh,
but yeah, I mean, part of me did get a kick out of the fact, like when she always enters in a place, she has like shirtless men carrying her in
yeah.
to the place. I was like, oh,
Good
that's a
good
nice.
time to be a male model. You picking up work at SNL in the early 2000s.
That's right. Hit the Ab Master and get on down to 30 Rock.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this sketch just never spoke to me because I think I barely had any idea who Donatella Versace was before
Uh,
this sketch, and probably after too.
yeah, I mean, I think she was. I mean, I always sort of took her as like some type of socialite, or I mean, I
No,
know
she
she's like,
was she was a designer,
yeah,
um,
but like,
but
did she found the Versace line, or is she like related
I
to?
I don't know. I look. I mean, this is where me not watching much of the E Network has caught up with me.
Okay. All right.
You
I'm
know,
looking at now.
if
All
I
right.
ever
So
watched the E Network and if I ever watched Ryan Murphy's shows, I wouldn't have a better understanding of who she was and why she might have been important. But
okay.
yeah,
All right. Well.
all I know is she was a designer.
Okay. All right. So all right. Donatella, Italian fashion designer, businesswoman, socialite, and model. She's the sister of Gianni Versace, founder of the luxury fashion
Okay,
company
and he was the
Versace.
murdered guy. I know.
Yeah, Gianni Versace. Yes, Giovanni Maria Gianni Versace. Oh wait,
So
his name was
anyway,
Maria.
um,
Oh wow, interesting.
so Salma Hayek is Donatella's head of operations in here, and here she's picking dresses for the actresses to wear at the Oscars.
Yeah, and then off the top of her head, she says, "Oh, Kathy Bates, duvet cover,
Right.
Sharon Stone, straight jacket and tights."
Yeah. Uh, Amy Poehler and Fred Armisen come in to pick up a dress for Catherine Zeta-Jones, and apparently Donatella was like, "Oh, she should come in person because she's pregnant now." Um,
Yeah, like that part of the see this part of the sketch, I didn't quite understand what was going on. Like I don't know if it really got there for you.
yeah, like I said, I never thought it was an especially funny sketch.
Okay, but then we have Dean Edwards coming in as Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and I
As
was like, "Oh wow, Michael Jackson was still alive back then. Holy cow!"
he was still alive, and like at this point, I think at this point in his life, people kind of he was kind of like persona non grata, and people were trying
Yeah,
to avoid him because like uh we see Salma Hayek and Maya Rudolph saying, "Oh my God, Michael Jackson's here! Quick, pretend to be a mannequin, and
right.
maybe he'll just
Yeah,
go away."
yeah. I mean, this was. I mean, he hadn't had a hit in a long time, and you know, there'd been all the. I don't know. Do we call them allegations? Do we go?
Yeah, let's say
Yeah,
allegations. Yeah. But yeah. So we see Dean Edwards coming as Michael, and one thing like I kind of noticed,
yeah,
like you see, like he's wearing the makeup on his face to make his skin lighter, and he has makeup on his hands
yeah,
to make his skin lighter. But at one point, he raises his arm to like to wave to somebody, saying like "yoo-hoo."
yeah.
But but when he does that, you can see like the wrist of his
Uh huh.
hand and below it that has no makeup on it. So you
Yeah,
see,
this was because this is where I feel like the makeup was so extensive. He wasn't Dean Edwards wasn't recognizable anymore, and I felt like that was really kind of doing him a disservice because Dean Edwards, pretty dark skinned black man, and Michael Jackson at this point in time was not. so
yeah,
so they were going a long way to try and make him look anything like Michael Jackson. It was a good impression, but I feel like the makeup just took it too far away from what Dean Edwards actually looked like.
yeah, I can see what you mean.
Yeah.
Like maybe they I mean I get it because like they were trying to make him look as much like Michael Jackson as possible, but in that they kind of lost
Yeah,
Dean.
they lost the performer, which SNL doesn't usually do. But this is one where I feel like they fell down on the job a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And then we have our musical guest Christina Aguilera come in, do a
Hmm.
little quick performance, talking about how she needs a dress for an upcoming award show, and Donatella loves Christina so much she rips the dress that she's wearing off her body and gives it to Christina to
Right.
reveal uh, to reveal herself in a bra top and these big old granny panties that like are pulled all the way like up past the navel.
Yeah. Yeah. Real baggy. Um, I thought it was interesting. Like it was pretty obvious that Christina Aguilera wasn't really a practice sketch performer. If for no other reason was she didn't really know how to cheat herself out to the camera. You know,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like half the time her head is turned and her hair is just kind of covering her face, so you don't really see her that well. And fortunately, they found a decent camera angle for her. But I was just like, "Ooh, yeah, I wish they'd covered that a little better at dress."
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe I don't. The blocking is a little bit odd on that one,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I mean, I just think she's a musician. She's not an actress, and you know, actors and actresses they generally know how to cheat themselves out to camera, where you just kind of like you're standing sort of at a diagonal so that they can get a good 3/4 shot of you.
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. But I mean, overall, I thought the sketch, mm, little pretty weak. I guess
Yeah,
I had a
I
few
always thought
moments.
this was a weak sketch. I mean, this sketch just never did anything for me. I was, like
Yeah,
the Donatello Versace show would come on and I'd just be like, ugh, okay, well, let me go get something to drink.
yeah. Like I mean, you could see Maya. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's any fault through Maya's
Hmm.
performance, because like she does kind of give it her all. She like when she gets loud and screamy, and like she's in the pocket, but I don't think they were able. The writing on these sketches aren't the strongest.
Yeah, I just always found the character more annoying than funny. So,
Okay, fair enough.
um, but I don't really care for the fashion world, so it's not really for me. I totally recognize that.
Well, I mean, but John, you're such a fashion icon. This shocks me. Like you're always decked down in the latest Gucci and Yves Saint Laurent.
Right.
Okay. Next up, it's Box.
The box, yes. Um, Opens up with Salma Hayek and Jimmy Fallon on a date.
Yeah.
They're getting into her living room and they're like, "Hey, this went really well. I think this is the start of something good here." And there's this huge box in her living room, and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And she's like, "Oh no, it's just a package that somebody mailed to my stupid husband."
Right. And little do they know that the package is the stupid husband,
Right?
because we hear Will Forte in the box screaming out like, aha, I mailed myself to you guys to see if you were cheating on me, and I was right."
Yeah.
And so it's based, and it is Will Forte actually in a cardboard box.
Yes. Yes. Well, you hear his voice. I mean, I recognize his voice. And he mailed himself. But the joke is he can't get out of the box. It's
Yeah.
taped up too securely. Um, So at one point, he's like trying to get towards Jimmy Fallon to like beat him up for going out with his wife, and we had the funny visual of the box just kind of bouncing over
Yes.
into Jimmy Fallon's direction.
Like the box hops over to him. Like, am I
Yeah,
close? Am I near you?
yeah. Um, did you notice that like they seem to screw up his character name? Like I think he's called Greg at one point early in the sketch, and then he's later Ray, and the Ray
Oh.
is the name that's on the box. It was a weird screw up.
Oh wow, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
Okay. But yeah, I mean there are some funny parts in here, like when Forte is actually able to get like an arm out to
yeah,
fight the guy, and so you just see like him swinging wildly, one arm out of a cardboard box, trying to
yeah,
hit Jimmy
yeah.
Fallon and
And then he
whoever.
opens up that hole a little more, and he just sticks his head out of the box. So we just see Will Forte's head sticking out of a box, out of the corner of a box.
Yeah, I like visually. There's some good stuff here. I
Hmm.
thought. But yeah, overall, I thought the sketch was okay, but wasn't. I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel like it was
I,
very close to being pretty damn good.
I didn't. I mean, honestly, I didn't really remember anything from this show from watching it back in the day, which I assume I did. And then I watched the show and I was like, oh yeah, this is why. It's a so sort of show. Um, I did like how towards the end they were saying like, "Flip you, you flippin' douche."
Yeah, they said that a lot. You're like, yeah, you mother flipper.
Yeah. I mean, we could see some of Will Forte's sensibilities kind of peeking through and becoming a part of
Yes.
the show, and that was interesting. Like, where he's kind of figuring out how to get his voice onto the show.
Yeah, you definitely see like this is early Will Forte. Like you could see this is like the seeds of like what Forte would go on to do, and
Right.
it is definitely a good place to see like his comedic sensibilities and what he's about.
Right.
Because like yeah, I watched this sketch and I get reminded of like future Will Forte stuff I see like
Yeah.
later on
It's
in my
it's
life.
very much a Will Forte, but it's still sort of a embryonic Will Forte. So
Yeah,
it's interesting in that regard.
absolutely. And yeah, and then I think at one point like Jimmy Fallon like actually like jumps on top of him,
Yeah,
on
that's
top
how
of the box to fight him.
it closes, where with Jimmy Fallon just basically fighting the box, which is interesting. And Jimmy Fallon and Will Forte both kissed Salma Hayek briefly during
Yeah,
during the sketch, which I'm sure they weren't sorry to do.
right, right. And I don't know if you saw it too, but like when Jimmy Fallon jumps on the box and the box kind of tips over, you see Forte's back. And it,
Yeah, the box is open at the bottom, and yeah, and I was like, why is Forte apparently not have a shirt on?
yeah, because like he does say in the sketch, "Oh, I'm not wearing any clothes in here," and but then you
Oh,
see the
I missed that. Okay.
yeah, but then you see the back, and like you see his bare back. So it's like, oh, is he actually? Well, he's probably wearing underwear or something. But like, yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know he was like legitimately straightless
he's a
during that.
method actor apparently.
Well done, sir. Well
Well,
done.
I mean, hey, Will Forte not afraid of getting naked for a gag. So
He is not. Go watch MacGruber. You'll see.
yeah. All right. So next up, we have a weekend update with Jimmy Fallon and Tina Fey.
Hey,
Fey.
hey.
I was so happy when I realized we could still do that gag.
The joke continues on.
I was like, oh, how should we say their names? And I was like, wait, Faye rhymes with Che. Oh my God, we can still do it.
Kaloo Kalay.
That made me happier than it should have.
Oh boy.
So yeah, this is of course because they're reporting on the news of the day. This was a real time capsule part of the episode. Like Congress is voting on whether or not to go to a war with Iraq.
Oh boy.
Um, they're saying that French fries and French toast have been changed to freedom fries and freedom
Oh my.
toast in the congressional cafeteria. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, I
God.
wonder if
Remember
they're
that?
still built like that.
God.
You think they still have that happening?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I wonder when they change that back.
But yeah, freedom fries.
I remember
Remember
that
that?
being a thing for about a year, though. And I mean, I
Oh
thought it was stupid then, but I remember it being a thing
yeah. I do
because
too.
like France didn't want to go to war with Iraq and our quote unquote coalition of the willing, um, and so in defiance we said, oh, they're no longer French fries, they're freedom fries.
Right. Get all them French things out of here. Get the French wines and the French kissing. Get it all out. It's all America kissing.
God, we're stupid.
We really are. Really are.
We are dumb. We are dumb people.
We are not the brightest. We're not the sharpest tool in the shed. Looking kind of
So,
dumb with the finger and the thumb in the shape of an L on our forehead.
well said, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the joke here was that France was now calling American cheese idiot cheese,
Ha ha!
and at the end we have the great Don Pardo saying, "This has been Jimmy and Tina yelling at America."
Wow, yeah.
Um, it was kind of funny to like it's weird to think of Jimmy Fallon editorializing about anything, you know.
Yeah, he's like, it's Jimmy Fallon. Everything's great to him. Like, what is.
Yeah, I feel like it's just him performing Tina Fey's editorial voice, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like Tina Fey wrote this piece and then Jimmy Fallon was just performing half of it.
yeah, very much. It's like, say these words.
Yeah. He's like, oh, okay, well, can't I just tussle Donald Trump's hair instead? That's more my speed.
Shut up. Just say my words, Fallon. Say my words, pretty boy, and I'll let you sing a song at the end of this.
Yeah. They also reported on, apparently this was a thing that had just recently happened was the Dixie Chicks said that they were ashamed that the president of the United States was from Texas.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
and that led to that whole Dixie Chick backlash. I don't know if their careers ever really recovered after that.
I mean, they're still out there. They're still doing it.
They
But
are.
it,
But they certainly aren't the phenomenon that they once were.
no, unfortunately not. Like, it's, yeah, I see what you mean. Like, it is something where they took a huge hit from
Yeah,
their country fan base because they didn't, I guess, pander to what they wanted to
yeah,
hear.
because
That
they're.
bullshit.
I think it's safe to say that that they're much more left leaning than a lot of the typical country fans. So a lot of their
Yeah,
fan base were alienated by that.
yeah. Oh,
And
they're woke. They're all woke.
yeah,
Can't have hey, can't have no woke chicks.
yeah,
I'm gonna raid you.
yeah. But hey, I will give them to this. They stuck to their guns. They put their money where their
Yep.
mouth was, and they didn't back down from that, as I recall.
Yeah, no, I applaud them for what they did because it's one of those things where they felt one way. They knew if they expressed what they felt, it would really hurt them with their audience. But they went
Mhm.
ahead and did it. Like I think I remember hearing somebody say like that's one of the most punk rock things anybody could do, and like
Yeah.
I agree. They had more balls than most like punk rockers and rappers and rock artists claim
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
have. Like what they did took some real guts.
Yeah, 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 and this is like the same time that we had oh what's his name, the country music star who just recently passed away, who was
Oh,
like
Toby Keith.
Toby Keith, yeah, and
Yeah.
this is the same time Toby Keith was doing the we'll put a boot in your ass, it's the American way, and all that stuff.
Uh,
So yeah,
yeah, America, we're gonna put boot in your ass if you're America. We're big and tough, and
yeah, yeah,
Ford Broncos and
yeah. So
oh, you
so
could
I was
fall.
just like, wow, it's weird that this is like on the week that this was happening. Um, Next we had a death segment with Fred Armisen's character Ferocito, and this time Salma Hayek is playing his new wife Lupe.
Yeah, like I mean, the way you feel about the Donatello Versace, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of always felt about this.
Ferocito.
For Yeah, because like I know, I mean, this is probably one of the first times Armisen's ever done it because he's a feature player. But like
Mm-hmm.
I know he's done it before later on in his
Yeah,
tenure, and they've always kind of fallen flat with me. Like I understand what he's like parodying,
yeah,
like those Univision comedians you see on like
mm-hmm.
Telemundo and whatnot
Yeah,
that that like kind of say these corny one liners and mug into the camera like I just me or like
yeah.
I get it, but it never. I'd be like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, Ferocito, he's one of those characters. I don't think I minded him in a big way. I think I got a little sick of him because Armisen went to that well a lot. And
Yeah, and
it's one of those sketches where it's like it's pretty much the same time thing every time around. You know?
yeah, he never like switched it up really. It just
Yeah.
he's like it's like an ACDC song. It's just like you know what you're gonna get. It's gonna be
Hmm.
it's gonna be this and this.
Yeah.
It's gonna give you this amount of laughs
Yeah.
and the end, and that's it. Original recipe all the way. Nothing's changing here.
Yeah. I did like that Ferocito was trying to convince Jimmy and Tina to get married. That they should get married if they want to be a comedy duo, like Lucy and Desi, or Howie Long and Terry Hatcher, because like Howie Long and Terry Hatcher were doing some series of commercials together at this time for
Right.
some
Oh,
reason.
right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
don't even remember what they were advertising anymore, but it was one of those commercials where it's like just this random couple who aren't a couple in real life, but they seem to be sort of a couple in the commercial.
Hmm.
Kind of like, oh, I'm really going to date myself here, but you remember those camera commercials that James Garner did with Marriott Hartley?
Oh, uh,
Like
kind.
they were so popular, and those two had such chemistry together that lots of people thought that they were married in real life.
Oh, like Canon, the Canon cameras.
Yeah, I don't remember what brand of camera it
Okay.
was, but they were doing these camera commercials, and they had great chemistry together, and lots of people thought they were married for real. And I think that's kind of what they were going for with Howie Long and Terry Hatcher back then.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Wow, we that's quite a tangent we've gone, but
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah. But I was like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that they did commercials together. I don't know what for, but
I I want to say Verizon, but I don't know if that's right.
yeah, let's say Verizon.
Sure.
And speaking of the World Wide Web, they had a joke a little after this where Tina Fey was saying the phrasing just really struck out at me. She was like, people are using search engines like Google.com to contact their ex girlfriends and boyfriends online, and I was like, search engines like Google.com. That really shows you where we were in 2003, where we had to first identify it as a search engine and then say Google.com.
People went to www.google.com.
HTTP colon slash.
Oh my god.
I just, one calling it google.com and then search engines like google.com. I was just like, that's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah. Like
But yeah.
another thing I noticed was like and I think this is maybe a mark of the Tina Fey era, is they were structuring the setups of their jokes much more like news items here,
Oh,
and like it wouldn't really get absurd until they got to the punchline. Did you notice that?
Um,
It was like a much drier setup.
hmm. I think. Wow, I didn't even notice that.
I don't know. About halfway through, it just kind of struck me that they were being much more restrained, and they were trying to be much more like actual newscasters, which was kind of used to be the way a lot of people did Weekend Update, and it's not really the style that Jost and Shay use today. I mean, Jost will be like Mitch McConnell seen here watching a puppy drowning, or something
Oh,
like that. Like
yeah,
he has
yeah.
that absurdity in the setup, whereas Tina Fey would just be like very normal, dry setup, and then have the twist and the punchline. I don't know,
Yeah,
just something that stuck out at me.
yeah. No, that makes sense. Because like I know like Dennis Miller kind of played with the format a little bit,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Norm. So you think like them coming off the tail end of that, then be like, oh, we should play with the format too. But it seems like they didn't do that
yeah. Well, I
as
think
much.
I think Dennis Miller was the first guy to really break away from the I'm an actual newscaster doing the news. He was just like, no, screw it, I'm just Dennis
Yeah,
Miller
I'm
doing the
Dennis
news.
Miller, babe. Oh,
Yeah,
what do you
and
think I am? A
then
news? What am I, Walter Cronkite over here?
yeah, and then it became a much more personality driven thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow. No, that's a good point. Wow.
and Tina Fey really, at least in her early days, she really seemed to bring back that we're doing the news thing. She was
Hmm.
more in the Jane Curtin mold, I think.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, but yeah, like I mean, what were we talking about?
Weekend
Fred,
Update.
yes, Frosito and Lupe. Yeah, so I didn't write too much about that. It was
Oh
pretty.
yeah, no, I was pretty much done with them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah. So then after that, we had a few more jokes. I think there was the one joke I kind of dug where Tina Fey was talking about how the soap operas are about to have their first lesbian kiss, and
Hmm.
that's gave other soap operas the idea to, make their shows more gay friendly. Shows like Port Charles and The Bold and the Beautiful, and of course, Genital Hospital.
Yeah,
Childish. Yeah, and then of course this whole thing ends with Jimmy Fallon doing what he was born to do. He sings a little medley of St. Patrick's Day songs.
yeah. He sang a bunch of songs about St. Patrick's Day to the tunes of other no songs like "Your Body Is a Wonderland," Christina Aguilera is beautiful. Um, what else? What else? He did a Coldplay song, didn't he?
He did Yellow. It was like
Yeah,
that was the one about how gays couldn't march in the St. Patrick's Day parade.
right, right.
And I
And
think
then
at one
he,
yeah, at one point he said the line "gay guys make better floats," which I was like, "What does that mean?"
I think that's just a gay men are fabulous joke.
Oh, yes.
Um, and then he finished it up with uh, covering Eminem's "Move Yourself," only it's "Puke Yourself."
Yeah. So
This was just I don't know. It was just Jimmy Fallon trying really hard to be Adam Sandler.
yeah, I think that's yeah for sure. Like I think it's one of those things where when Jimmy Fallon got on the show, I feel like the show thought, "Oh, this guy, he's like another Adam Sandler. He plays guitar. The college kids like him. He's cute. Like this,
Yeah.
and
I
like
don't, I
they'll
don't think
really
he
play
had
this
too
thing.
much of his own identity yet. You know.
No, not really. He was just like the cute young guy that well, I called him cute twice. But yeah, he was like the young kid that like plays guitar and is adorable and stuff. So like yeah,
Yeah.
but he was never able to really, and he had a few impressions. I will give him that. He did have a few impressions.
Yeah.
Like like if you ever see on his show, like when he does his Neil Young impression, it's really good.
Uh huh.
And but yeah, look up him doing a Neil Young impression. It's pretty spot on. And like he
I will
does
not.
some okay. But like he can do other things, but it just seems like maybe he doesn't focus on those things
He
more.
chooses not to.
Yeah, exactly. Like he does have more to him, but
No,
he
he
chooses
does
not
have
to
some
do it.
comedy chops, and honestly, I mean, uh, when he was doing Update with Tina Fey, that's one of my favorite eras of Update. I think they were a great team, and they had a nice kind of chemistry. I think Lauren defined it as um, like Jimmy was like the dumb kid who had Tina doing his homework,
Yes.
and it worked, and I liked how and I loved how it transitioned from Tina Fey and Jimmy Fallon to Tina Fey and Amy Poehler
Mm.
to Amy Poehler and Seth Meyers, and then Seth Meyers. I mean, it was kind of like this long unbroken run.
Yeah, it was a very natural progression. Nice little flow they had there.
Yeah, yeah. It was neat how it sort of handed off from one person to the other to the other. And I know that wasn't really the plan. That's just how it turned out. But I
Still,
thought it was kind of cool.
yeah,
But
no,
yeah, I could have done. I was never too fond of Jimmy Fallon getting out the guitar and just singing.
yeah. Like as soon as that came on, I was like, all right, this is just for the college kids, and all right. I think I went up and got a drink or something when that came
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
But yeah, I guess it's cute enough if that's your type of thing. But
yeah.
next up, let's go to seduction class.
Seduction classes. Salma Hayek. She's teaching a class in the art of seduction at the local YMCA.
Yes, in the basement, the
Yes.
sexiest part of the YMCA.
Oh, yes. I mean, all the sexy stuff happens in the basement. Uh,
The Alamo,
and
all of it.
yeah, and she's she's in like a tight cut pink dress with fishnets, I think it was, and speaking in a French accent. And then the joke is like, it's all sorts of older people that you'd see taking an annex class at the YMCA. We have Fred Armisen as hello, I'm Gabe, and
Yeah,
speaking in like sort of stereotypical Jewish accent.
yeah, like Arnold Horshack from Welcome Back, Kotter,
Yeah, a bit of that.
or maybe
Had
Ed Koch.
yeah, very Ed Koch.
Mhm.
Had Horatio Sands as Vasquez, Rachel Dratch as Ruth, an older woman, and Tracy Morgan as AJ, who wants an Asian he/she.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, can we? Oof, like the way, yeah, that's a choice. That's a
It
choice.
was a very Tracy Morgan character, wasn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think that's a joke that the show would make today.
no, no, no. I don't think so. I did like the line where Salma Hayek talks to the students, saying like why they're here and what they're looking to do, and then Rachel Dratch says like, I'm a very sexually active person, but I'd like to share that with another person.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, all right, that's a cute line.
yeah, and she has them run through some uh, imaginary scenarios, and she's also like dropping anecdotes about how she's hooked up with people. Um,
Oh yeah, in the bathroom of a like gas station and stuff.
right, right. Um, I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me, this sketch.
Yeah, it seemed to kind of meander a little bit. Like I don't know. Like I mean, the it seemed like they were kind of trying to figure out where the jokes were and where the
Hmm.
punchlines were as they were doing it,
Yeah.
type of thing. I mean, I didn't write down too much about this one either, just because like I didn't.
No, I mean it was funny when I think Armisen and Dratch in particular, they were both doing some good character work. I liked how singularly focused Tracy Morgan's character was. He gets up and Salma Hayek's like, okay, well, flirt with Ruth here, and he's like, are you Chinese? No. Are you a he she? No. All right. Well, I don't. I'm not interested in you. And he like
Well,
walks
I'm
off.
leaving. I'm leaving. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, he's a man who knows what he wants.
That's right. Know what I want.
So,
But yeah, like I don't have much to say about this one. Yeah, because it ends with that, and then it ends with Gabe, Fred Armisen's character, successfully flirting with Rachel
Ruth.
Dratch's character.
Yeah.
Like, so this is very forward of me that I think maybe we should go to the bathroom and maybe you could touch me and I can touch you, and yeah, I think it'll be a good time.
Yep.
Very much, and like so he's successful, and then like everybody else in the class leaves to go practice their pickup skills at the gas station. I think it was.
Yeah, I guess I didn't write it down.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have much to say about this one. I thought it was like there's some uh, interesting things here at play, but it didn't quite come together
Yeah.
as I would have hoped it would have.
Yeah.
Alright.
Uh,
But yeah. Next up, we got a pre-tape.
yeah, a little pre-tape thing. Talking about another thing. about a news story. This was like not long after terrorist or Al Qaeda terrorist Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had been captured, and apparently one of the things they found in his headquarters or his hidey hole or whatever was a DVD of the movie Chicago.
Hmm. As a
And
matter of fact, they found a lot of memorabilia from the movie Chicago.
yeah, yeah, I don't know if they were exaggerating it for this bit. I didn't look up this news story, but but it's Salma Hayek just narrating it and saying like, well, I just want to say that the movie Frida does not support terrorism.
Yeah, that.
So please, Academy voters, vote for Frida.
Yeah, I thought this was hilarious.
It was
I look.
very funny. Yeah,
Yeah, this came out a week before the Academy Awards.
yeah,
It
yeah,
just
and this is like one of her big competitors because she's up against Renee Zellweger for Chicago. Chicago was up for Best Picture and actually ended up winning Best Picture.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but then with this pre-tape, it's basically Salma Hayek saying that Chicago might be in bed with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and
yeah,
if you vote for Frida, you're fighting against terrorism.
yeah. Which I mean, it's such a funny, absurd claim. Yeah, this is probably the funniest thing in the show for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Sketch of the night.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a quick thing, just only a minute or two, but funny stuff.
Funny, funny stuff. And so then there are 10-1. It's
King
King
Kong, the
Kong.
director's cut.
King cut. Yo,
So we're screening a director's cut of the classic 1933 movie King Kong, and so this is shot in black and white. We have Fallon and Sands as two cops, and they're watching Kong climb the Empire State Building, and then they start talking about Kong's genitals.
yeah,
They're just kind of like, "Hey, look at that! Oh, well, he's very excited." And then we cut to Tracy Morgan and Salma Hayek as a couple living below in the Empire State Building, and the basic gag is, well, Kong's penis is coming in through their window.
yeah. Like I don't. I mean, props to the props department on this one because
Hmm.
yeah, it is basically like you see like this big, huge, like almost the shape of a carpet, furry thing
Yeah,
going.
a big fuzzy tube.
Yeah, it's going from one end of the apartment to the other. Like it
Right,
sticks out from one window
right.
to the next. It's
I mean, there's
basically,
there's nothing about it that looks penis-like,
yeah,
but you just know from context that that's what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. Like you don't see the head or nothing.
Yeah,
It's all
I mean,
shadow.
the gag is the couple doesn't realize what it is. They're just like, "Hey, what's this weird thing coming through our window? Hey, let's try to push it out." And
Yeah,
and
because
so
I think they think that, oh, this is probably a carpet that the upstairs neighbors is trying to move in, so
right,
let's try to push it out and get it out of our apartment. And of
right.
course, they use their hand to push it back and forth, back
They're
and
yeah they're
forth.
moving their hands back and forth on it, and
You
then
know what
we
that
we cut
means.
back to the cops, and they're like, "Hey, he's getting really excited now." And at one point, Tracy Morgan leans out the window, and he's like, "Oh, they must be moving all sorts of furniture. There are two fuzzy beanbag chairs
Mm.
out there."
It's like, yeah, let me try to move those out the way. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, so they're basically jacking off King Kong.
yeah. I mean, it's the sketch is just a one long dick joke, really,
Yeah,
in
I
every sense of the term.
very much. So. I thought they were going to go all the way with it and have like Fallon and Sands like doused in like some white liquid or something. Like I don't know how far they're going to
Yeah,
go
at
with
one
this.
point, I was like, "Are we going to have like something flooding in from the next room or something like that?" Um,
Like I part of me thinks that maybe somebody stepped in and is like, no, you guys can't do that. But
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
that might have been taking it over the line. And yeah, but instead they cut back to the two cops, and they're like, "Hey, now he's making the goofiest face I've ever seen. Now he looks guilty. now he's ripped a cigarette off a billboard, and I liked that. That was some good detail. I liked that's the goofiest face I've ever seen. Now he looks guilty.
That was written by
He had
somebody
that
who's
that post orgasm regret. That
yeah,
was very funny.
yeah. That hits still too close to home.
Yeah, and then Daryl Hammond comes in as another cop, and he's like, "Oh, it twas beauty that calmed the beast." Um, Only time we saw Daryl Hammond this episode, I believe.
Yeah, this was it. I was like, oh wow, you really I was hoping to see more of him, but yeah, I guess not.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we
so that's how
King
we're
Kong
closing out the night with
King Kong's dick. Yeah.
yeah, King Kong ejaculation.
Wow.
10-1 land, everybody. It's a wild it's
Holy moly.
it's a wild west, man.
Oh my god. Yeah, my lord. And it was a different time, guys.
It was a
It was a
different
different.
time.
That's right. Good
I'm glad
job.
I'd already eaten my dinner before I rewatched
Right.
that sketch.
Yeah. We could. You could.
I mean, it was it was so stupid and absurd and out there that I kind of liked it.
It was really out there.
It was goofy, but damn it if it didn't amuse me a little bit.
Yeah, it was really. I mean, I don't see the show taking swings like that now, but it was
Yeah,
wowie.
yeah, and nothing real notable at Good Nights except we of course see Christina Aguilera and her band. We didn't. Darren and I didn't see them at all because we didn't see any of the musical segments. And Ed Norton apparently wasn't at the Good Nights. So,
Oh, what's up? Oh, they get into a fight? What happened there? Ooh,
no,
hot.
probably he just didn't want to be on camera again.
You don't support me.
So,
Hot goss.
what'd you think of this one overall?
Overall, I thought it was okay enough. Some of it's. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was weird to see this cast because, like I said, it is a transition era. So you
Hmm.
see the older era of comedians that are not comics, cast members that are still there that are kind of on the way out, and then you see the newer cast members that are still kind of trying to figure it out
Yeah.
while they're there. So it's like sort of two sections of cast members still kind of not quite. I don't want to say all there, but like
Yeah.
you just see them kind of trying to either figure it out or kind of wrap it up, I guess, in a way.
Hmm.
But overall, like like you get to it. I liked it because you get to see the seeds of what is to come and what they go on to be. Like the
Yeah.
newer cast members, like Armisen and Myers at this point.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought this episode was okay. I guess. I I don't know how I feel about Salma Hayek as a host. I thought she was somewhat decent, but I think her comedic timing in a few places were a little off.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't feel like she was necessarily anything to write home about as a host, but
yeah,
she didn't embarrass herself either. So
yeah, I would say absolutely.
yeah. Um, you know, I guess the show didn't go to the oh my gosh she's really hot well too much. So
Yeah,
that was all
um,
right.
yeah. I mean, I guess you could say they did that with the seduction class and the monologue, but I guess that those are the only two
Yeah, but
really
I mean
ones.
the gag in the seduction class wasn't so much like oh my gosh she's hot. I mean they did play up her attractiveness in that. Of course, she's like wearing a low cut thing and all that. But it was more about the goofiness of the characters, and I think they just kind of played Salma Hayek up to just to contrast with the everyday looking people in the class.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that
I
makes
mean
sense.
that was my take on it anyway.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. All right. Well, that's the episode, guys. Thanks for listening as always. Do we have any? Let's go to the Twitter. See if any of the our Twitter people reached out to us.
I don't think we had anything last time I looked.
Oh, guys.
So so Frank, you can go ahead and edit this little bit out.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so
Well,
yeah, I think that's about it. Have we announced what we're going to do next week? I don't think we have.
we have not, but we could talk about that quick little review we got on Patreon.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for the reminder of that. We did get a review on Patreon this week. Let me get that
Okay.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a note from Steven who contributed to the Patreon over on non-productive.com. It says, love getting the podcast early. You've become one of my fave. Can't wait podcasts. One of my
Hey,
favorite can't wait podcasts. So thank you very much, Stephen. We really appreciate that.
thank you
And
very much,
and
Steve.
thank you for contributing to the Patreon. That helps us keep it going. And as Stephen said, yeah, when you do contribute to the Patreon, you do get the podcast a little early.
Yeah,
So,
you get it a little early. It's a nice little treat, a nice little Christmas present under the tree we give you.
hmm yep, yep. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we appreciate the support. I mean, if you listen consistently, if you tell people about the podcast, um, that really helps us out, and contributing to the Patreon helps us out even more. So we like,
Absolutely.
all the likes, all the retweets, all the shares, all the word of mouth, the reviews. If you want to leave a review for the podcast, that helps us out
Absolutely. You can leave reviews on whatever your
on Apple Podcasts or
Apple Podcasts.
wherever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just anywhere you want to leave a review. Just you can just
hmm
tweet at us and review it. Tell us.
Yep.
Leave it on the Apples or on the Patreon. Just let us
hmm
know what you think, guys. For the love of
Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah. We love getting feedback on the podcast. We love hearing what people have to say. So.
Absolutely.
And you can follow the podcast over on the socials. We're on Twitter at SNL Nerds Show. So give us a follow there. Give us a hey, hi, how are you there?
Yeah. How you do? And as
Yeah,
always, you can follow me on all the platforms at Darren Credible, DARIN Credible.
yeah. You just follow him on the platforms. Wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah.
And you can follow me on the platforms at Trumbull Comic. That's TRUMBULL and the word comic. And next week, um, we SNL is off once again next week, so we gotta figure out something else to do. I think we figure out something good to do.
We
Um,
did. Should I say it or?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, we thought about it, and I think we're gonna go this route. As many of us know, the late great Richard Lewis passed away recently.
hmm
So I think when we heard this news, I was trying to see like, oh, did he host SNL? Did he have any SNL connections we can talk about in the podcast? Unfortunately, he has not. But he was in a made-for-TV movie that aired during one of the SNL time slots back in 1979 that was produced by Lorne Michaels, a film called Diary of a Young Comic,
hmm
directed by Gary Weiss. I did a little research, found out that it's airing, it's on Tubi to stream. So we're like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so
Let's honor the late great Richard Lewis. Talk about Diary of a Young Comic.
yeah, I've never seen this. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I first got into Richard Lewis in like the late '80s. I seen his stand up. I probably saw him on Letterman first, and then a few years after that, he was on the sitcom Anything But Love. I enjoyed that show. That was a good show, and yeah, I came to really enjoy him. So I'm looking forward to seeing him when he was like a young, still somewhat struggling comic, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna do it. Diary of a Young Comic, starring Richard Lewis, produced by Lorne Michaels, directed by Gary Weiss, who was a director who directed a lot of multiple short films for
hmm
SNL,
Yeah,
and was
he's got a long history with SNL.
yeah, and he co-directed the Beatlemania spoof All You Need Is Cash with Eric Idle. So next week, Diary of a Young Comic.
All right, so yeah, go over to Tubi and check it out and let us know what you think of it. So, we'll see you next week with that. But until then, nerds out.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.